first things first. I think that's enough. Hello everyone, my name is Sophie and I am a 23-year-old living in New York City, and I thought today I would do a little sit down talk and kind of catch you up about my experience here so far in New York City and kind of just answer some questions people have. Now, one thing about New York that's not very similar to California is the bugs, and let me tell you, the bugs are gnarly here, so I'm not going anywhere without the off spray, you know? Anyways, so I got my glass of wine. I asked some questions on my Facebook and Instagram to see if anyone had questions about, you know, my experience here so far. So I guess we're doing like a little Q&A moment. So I'm gonna look at my phone a couple times just to get the questions. And then I also had some comments of my video. So we're gonna get straight into it. So for some of you that don't know me or might not have watched a video of mine or is new to this channel, my name is Sophie and I moved to New York about a year ago, and so that's kind of why I've decided to do this video. I came up on my 1-year anniversary, and yeah, it's a lot different my life now than it was in the past year. When I moved here, life was kind of crazy. There was a lot of things that just were very unexpected, and I made a video about that, so if you go to my channel, I'll just link the video below or like up here, and you can watch that video. But the way things started off was a little bit crazy. Since then, I had moved into the apartment that I'm at now, and it's been really nice. So let's get into some questions, kind of like a recap of New York. So I'm gonna start with Facebook first. Let's go to my messages. Someone said expenses, transportation, how the people are, anything you know now that you wish you would have known before moving. Do you think you'll stay there forever or just a few years, and why? And this is such a good question. I mean, there's several questions here to unpack, but all right, so expenses. Yeah, New York is expensive. I think a lot of people know that. It's not a really big secret, and I think it's all about budgeting and prioritizing of what you need, what you want to do. I found myself spending a lot of money on brunch. Brunch is a big thing out here, on the weekends especially, and a lot of people like to do bottomless brunch, which, I mean, they have good deals sometimes, but it can get expensive. You're spending like $60 just for lunch. I was looking at my finances and kind of just cut back on that. I have said, like, in the past, I do think brunch is a good way to meet people and be surrounded people that you like. But once I found that my friendships were getting a lot stronger, I no longer needed to spend like $60 to $80 on brunch. I was, you know, very happy just cooking at home and then maybe meeting everyone after once they had different plans. Transportation, you do a lot of walking here, and I would say that to meet up, to friends, to go to dinner, different things like that, I kind of keep it here in Williamsburg, and so you do a lot of walking just every day. I don't even know the statistic, but there's like, I think New Yorkers walk like 3 times more than the average. I don't know. You know what? I'll research that. I'll put it the correction here. But New Yorkers walk a lot, so that would be one way of transportation. Personally, me, when I go to work, I take the subway, and for me, it didn't take too long to get used to. I'm pretty good with directions, and so yeah, it took a couple weeks. I go to work every day. I never worked remote, and so I think with that familiarity, I was able to catch on a lot quicker. Each subway ride is $2.75. I get the month pass, which is $127 a month. And then there's city bikes, which for me, when I city bike, it's a big treat, but I know several people that bike into work and different things like that. So there's a lot of resources. The bus, you can take the bus too. The ferry, the ferry, I highly recommend taking the ferry. It's like one of it's like a hidden gem of New York, I feel like. It's the same price as a subway, but you move a lot quicker, and you have this beautiful view out on the water. The reasons I moved to New York was because I wanted to not own a car. I wanted to be able to take public transportation, and I am doing that. How are the people? For me, the people are really nice, and I do notice a big difference between Brooklyn and Manhattan, and I think Brooklyn is so laid back. You really do get this community feel when you're here in Brooklyn, which I love. I think coming from a suburb in California, Brooklyn was a perfect transition for me to move to New York, and now that I've been here, I don't really see myself going to Manhattan, or I guess like moving there, but a lot of my friends are there. I think coming from the West Coast, or such like a sunshine state where like people are known to be very laid back and happy, there is like a cultural shock and difference, but it's not crazy. I think moving during the pandemic had made people a lot more compassionate and nice, and so I think I've experienced that a lot. Yeah, I mean, when you're on the subway, you're gonna get some crazy people, that's just known, but it's nothing that I feel is completely out of the norm. And people talk a lot about New York. They talk a lot about the people, the culture, and so for me it didn't come as a shock too much. Now that you wish you know before moving. Not really. I feel like I got really good preparation moving here. I didn't really have any expectations. You know, you come in with the stereotypes and you kind of go from there, and I think New York, or like I said, Brooklyn, has really changed all the stereotypes for me, and I'm very happy I moved here, and I don't really know. This is something I would have to come back on. And do you think you'll stay here forever or just a few years, and why? If you would have asked me last year, I honestly thought maybe I would be moving by the end of my lease coming up. My lease ends in September, so I always thought maybe that would be the time I moved out, and like I said, my friendships have developed. I've really grown to like just life here and my life here specifically, so we'll see. I'm open to move different places. I've never been that kind of person, I thought, to like stay in one place. I do miss California, and you know, it was quite difficult for me here in the winter time because I think it was more of like a FOMO. I saw my family out at the pool, I saw my friend like at the beach in February, and it's freezing here and still snowing in February, so we'll see. Check in up on me on winter and we'll see how it's going. I think I will actually be here a lot longer than I anticipated. Someone said, how's the big city life going? I'm very comfortable here and I really like it. I think it's very exciting. There's something new to do all the time, and if you don't want something new to do, like, you can just relax at home. Something I always describe is that being in New York, seeing your friends is such a low commitment thing. Growing up in the suburbs and always having to be in your car, you have to like dedicate your time and, you know, really calculate going and hanging out with friends, and that's just something you don't really need to do here. All of my friends are pretty much walking distance, if not they're a very short subway right away. I will just text them and ask them what they're doing and, you know, walk over. It's very low commitment, and I think that's one of the best things about New York. Someone's asked me, how does it rank in your favorite places to live? I don't know how it ranks. I've lived in California, obviously that's where I grew up. I lived in Tucson, Arizona, that's where I went to school, and now I live here, and I don't know how it ranks. They're so different, they're so unique. I miss Tucson dearly. It has such charm and such character to it that I find myself missing it all the time. Of course I miss California. That's where my family is, the weather, like I never thought so much about the weather until I moved to New York. So honestly, like between like winter and summer, there's such a huge divide. Summertime, I would have to say New York. Like, it's beautiful here in the summer. The energy in the city is so amazing. Like I said, like there's just so much to do, and if you don't want to do anything, you don't have to. But you have your options, and it's so fun. And I would say in the winter, I would have to say California. So I don't know, maybe it ranks first in the summer. In the winter, it probably ranks last because of how cold it is. Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard question. Someone asked me, I've never been to New York. Is it busy there all the time like I see on the TV shows? I guess, yeah. Yeah, but it's so interesting because New York isn't just one place. It's It's very dynamic, and you have your neighborhoods in each place, and you've probably heard of like Soho, and then Times Square is in Midtown, like other places like Dumbo. You have Financial District, which is in Manhattan. You have East Village, and so each place you go has more of a hustle and bustle than others. The demographic also changes to where you are, and so it just, yeah, it depends. Like here in northern Brooklyn, it's more like really young people, artists, and then when you get a little bit more mid-south Brooklyn, you have more families. Midtown in New York, you have a lot of business people and you have tourists. East Village is like young adults, and then you have the West Village, which is where NYU is, and you have more like students and also families. So yeah, it is busy, but it's really interesting to see kind of how the crowd changes where you go. Alright, so a wonderful viewer named Max asked me, how did I develop my friend group? Which is one of my favorite questions. And I feel like in New York, or you have the most like random way you meet friends. For me, for most of the people I know, I guess we'll just get into it. I have like different groups of people that I hang out with. My closest group of friends are French, which doesn't make much sense because I'm not French and I don't speak French. I would say the key to making friends here, it's very spontaneous and there's no rhyme or reason about it. I think it's all about like being comfortable with yourself and putting yourself out there, which is something I never really did until I moved to New York. One of my really good friends, Val, he's been in a couple vlogs, you've seen him before, but I met Val on the subway, and it's like the most random in New York way I feel like you can meet someone. But when I moved here, I had no friends, I didn't know anyone, and I was on the subway and my friend Val was wearing his backpack that he went to, like his university backpack where he went to school, and he went to this really small Baptist university like 10 minutes down the freeway where I grew up, and like no one really goes there. Like it's not a big university, it has sports, but I think they're like D2, and like it's a very, very nice school. It's a private like Christian university, but the only people I know that went there or go there were athletes. They still live like where I grew up, like in my hometown, or at least not far. I was walking up the stairs of the subway, and he was wearing this backpack, and it said his university, and it said cross country. Like I lit up because I was like, this guy knows my hometown, like we're probably gonna have like some type of connection. I ran cross country in high school, and our team did big littles, and my big also ran cross country at that university. So something like I've never done before, I was like, I need to say something to him. So I tapped him. I was like, hey, I see your backpack. Did you go to this university? And he's like, yeah, I did. And I was like, no way. Like, when did you graduate? And he was like, in 2017, which my big graduated sometime around that year also. So I was like, oh my gosh, do you know this person? And he was like, yeah, like they were on my team. So we got each other on Instagram, and we already had like 4 mutual followers, and yeah, so we just like ended up grabbing dinner or drinks. He was the perfect person to meet because he's so outgoing and so welcoming, and he just started inviting me with his friends, and he just ended up being friends. Still like really good friends. He literally lives across the street from me. In that kind of situation, I felt like it's all about being bold and like putting yourself out there, which was something I wasn't super comfortable, but I'm very glad I did it because I met like my best friends. I met some friends off the Roomie app. So before I signed my lease here, I was going to live with these other girls. Again, I talked about this in my last video if you want to check it out, but we didn't end up living together, but became really good friends. And then through that, you know, I just like would go out with them, go to lunch, go to dinners, go to parties, and I met people along the way there as well, and so those kind of just like transformed. I personally haven't done this, but if you're moving to New York, and I thought this was like a huge joke before, but apparently it's a real thing. My really good friend met most of her friends this way, but Bumble BFF is huge. I don't know if it's just huge out here, if it's just huge in general, but so many girlfriends of mine have met through Bumble BFF. So if you're moving to New York and you don't know anyone, that's something you should definitely check out. I'd suggested it to me like in the past, people from my hometown, and it was like always a joke. And then I met these girls and they're like, yeah, like I met her through Bumble BFF, and I met her but she met her through Bumble BFF. So yeah, that's a couple ways that you can meet some people. If you're ever thinking about New York, like I hope you keep those things in mind. I hope this video was helpful and I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit more about my experience. If you ever have any questions or suggestions or requests on videos, please leave a comment down below, and I will see you next time.